The yoga techniques and suggestions presented in this instructional video are not intended to substitute for proper medical advice. Consult your physician before beginning a new exercise program. Nora Benian assumes no responsibility for injuries suffered while practicing these techniques. So go easy, take your time, honor your body. Namaste. So let's come to sit on a bolster or a block or some folded blankets and reach the crown of the head up and drop the sit bones down, feeling the length in the spine, relaxing the low back and lifting the chest. Soften the shoulders. Let's just take a few deep breaths. And as you breathe, send the breath to the sides of the lungs rather than the front. Since you have so much happening, filling up and pushing on the lungs in the front, look for spaces that you don't normally think about breathing into. You can breathe all the way up and toward the armpits. You can also breathe into the back of the lungs. So try breathing first into the sides, and then add more air into the back, filling up toward the shoulder blades. Exhale slowly. Each breath you take is a little fuller and longer than the last one. Make sure the exhalations are almost, and it may be even twice as long as the inhalation. So very slow release of the air. This helps to calm the nervous system. Inhale to the count of 3. Exhale to the count of 6. Inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. Perhaps now you can lengthen that count to inhaling to the count of 4, 2, 3, 4, and exhaling to maybe even 8. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale slowly to the count that is most comfortable for you. Gradually inhale again, filling up. And exhale slowly. From here, we're going to lower the chin toward the chest, letting the head hang forward. Keeping the chest lifted and the shoulders relaxed, we're letting the back of the neck stretch out. We'll be here for several breaths. Make sure you're breathing up in between the shoulder blades, filling up the back body. As if you could breathe so deeply that the lungs are pressing against the ribs and then the ribs are expanding outward. Remember to exhale slowly. Let's take one more deep breath. And then we're going to bring the chin down toward the right collarbone, nose dropping down toward the right thigh. So there's not much muscular effort going on at all. You're just swinging the head over to the side and then hanging it down again. Make sure the posture is still held up, tailbone down into what you're sitting on and chest lifted. Shoulders relaxed, jaw relaxed, and breathing deeply. Probably be feeling a stretch behind the left shoulder blade. Breathe into that space. Let's take another deep breath. And then we're going to bring the right ear over the right shoulder. So now our face is facing forward, and it's as if we were laying our head down over our shoulder. Shoulders are relaxed. So is the jaw. Chest is still lifted. And we're breathing as deeply as we can into the sides and the back of the lungs. Let's take another deep breath. And as you exhale, slowly lower the chin down toward the chest, letting the head hang forward again. And we'll take a few breaths in this position before moving to the other side. And then we'll slowly bring the chin toward the left collarbone, nose dropping down toward the left thigh. So again, just think of the head dropping forward in this direction rather than having to hold it here. You're still sitting up tall with the tailbone grounded and the chest lifted, but there's no real effort in the neck. Breathing deeply up between the shoulder blades, you'll probably feel this behind the right shoulder blade. Breathe into that space. Take another deep breath. And then we're going to roll the head over so that the left ear is now dropping toward the left shoulder. Remember to sit up tall and relax the shoulders and the jaw. And continue breathing deeply. Really feel the stretch across the right side of the neck and see if you can just go with it by dropping the right shoulder even more. Take another deep breath. Slowly swing the chin back down toward the chest. Pause here. Breathe between the shoulder blades. And then we're going to swing the head over to the right again, right ear over right shoulder. Slowly exhale, chin back to chest. Inhale, left ear over left shoulder. And exhale, chin back to chest. We'll continue this a few times with the breath. Inhale. And exhale, center. Inhale over left. And exhale, center. And again. One more time, over the left shoulder. Exhale, center. Let's take another long, deep breath or two. And then lift the head back up, lifting up tall through the spine. We'll inhale and turn the head to the right, looking over the right shoulder. Exhale, center. Looking over the left shoulder. Take a deep breath. And exhale, center. And again, inhale over the right. Exhale, center. Inhale over the left. And exhale, center. Going to roll the shoulders, lifting them up and pulling them back, down and forward. Several rotations up, back, down, forward. Inhale, up. Open the chest, down, forward, and again. Inhale, back now, up, forward and down, back, up, forward and down, back, up, forward, and down. Inhale the arms up. Interlace the fingers and pull up with the arms, squeezing them toward the head and reaching long through the body, tailbone down, fingers up. Inhaling deeply into the side body, filling up toward the armpits, lifting. And then from here, we're going to slowly begin to bend over toward the right, keeping both sit bones grounded, feeling the pull on the left side of the body. Breathe into the left side. Exhale, come back up. Take a breath, lifting and then bending over to the left as you exhale. Inhale fully into the right side, reaching long through both sides of the body, keeping both sit bones grounded or down. And coming back up, inhale, lift. From here, we'll bring the right hand to the floor and reach up over the head with the left arm, creating a C shape for the spine, keeping both sit bones down. Breathing deeply into the left side of the body. Letting the head hang over to the side as well. Deep breath. And then open up the chest, letting that left hand reach back and up. And then we'll release and rotate the chest to face down. Bring the left hand down in front of you. Sweep across to the other side. Bring the left hand to the floor. Reach the right arm up over the head, creating a C shape in the opposite direction. Keep both sit bones grounded. Let the head hang. Breathe into the right side of the body. And then as you're feeling ready, you're going to lift your chest up toward the ceiling and let that right arm drop back behind you just a little so that we can open up across the chest. We can't do twists at this stage of pregnancy, but we certainly can open up the chest in a diagonal way. And then as you exhale, rotate the chest down, swing the hand in front of you and over to the other side again. Inhale, lifting the left arm, rotating the chest up as you inhale. And then exhale, roll down and across to the other side. Left hand down, right arm up. Inhale, open the chest. And exhale, back to center. Over to the right side once again, lifting the left arm, open the chest with a deep breath. Rotate down, exhale, swing across to the left side, lifting the right arm. Inhale as you rotate the chest upward. And then finally come back to center. Round the back. Take a deep breath. And slowly roll up to sit. So with the hands holding onto the knees, we're going to round the back into cat, chin to chest. And then using the hands on the knees, pull your chest forward, opening up, pulling the shoulders back, lifting the chin into cow. And then exhale, round the back, pulling against the knees so that you have something to lean away from. And then inhale, using the hands on the knees to pull the chest forward. And again, exhale, round the back. Inhale, pulling the chest forward, opening up the chest. And come back to neutral. So now we're going to bring the hands together over the head and bend the elbows so that we can bring the thumbs towards the spine. And then squeeze the elbows toward the head and use the head to press against the forearms to push the elbows up even more. So we're opening up the triceps, the armpit area where all the lymph nodes are. We're releasing the tension that usually gathers between the breast and the armpits, allowing toxins to flow more easily out through the lymph nodes. Let's bring the hands now behind the back, clasping the forearms or the elbows, letting the shoulders drop and the chest lift. Breathing deeply, filling up the upper back area with the breath. Let's take another deep breath. And then we'll release the arms, interlace the fingers behind the back and stretch the arms back and up and open the chest, pulling the shoulders away from the ears, elongating through the front of the body, arching the back as much as you like. Take a few long, deep breaths, filling up wherever you can into the lungs. And then release the arms. We're going to cross the right arm over the left at the elbows and bend the elbows, bringing the hands or the hand to the wrist together. So we're hooking the arms into eagle pose. Keep the chest lifted and drop your chin down towards your chest. Breathing now in between the shoulder blades as you press your elbows forward. Feel the shoulder blades moving away from each other, creating space in the upper back. One more breath. And then we're going to release the arms, send the heels of the hands away, stretching the arms long, spreading the fingers like you're putting your palms on the walls on either side. Drop the shoulders and take deep breaths. And now we're going to bring the arms out in front, crossing the left over the right, bending at the elbows and hooking the hands or the hand to the wrist, pressing the elbows forward, dropping the chin down toward the chest, and breathing between the shoulder blades, creating space and openness between the shoulder blades. Let's take another deep breath. Release the arms, send the heels of the hands away, spreading the fingers, flexing the wrists, relaxing the shoulders, being long through the arms. And then we're going to bring the hands together and interlace the fingers, and we're going to roll the wrists around so that we're stretching the wrists and making some rotations. This helps to release the synovial fluid in the joints, making your bones have some grease between them as they move. And then we'll stretch the hands out in front, spread the fingers, tuck the thumbs in, wrap the fingers around the thumb, and make rotations with the hands and the fists, so that we are, again, greasing the joints. And now we're going to stretch the arms out in front, spread the fingers. We're going to use one hand to pull all the fingers back on the other hand. So thumb is included, elbow is straight, taking a deep breath. And then release that hand, and we'll do the same for the other. Keep the elbows straight. Use the whole hand to pull all the fingers back, bending at the wrists. And breathing deeply. And then we'll just shake the wrists out. And then we're going to switch our leg position now, stretching the legs out in front. You could stay seated on the bolster or the blankets, or you can come forward and sit down on the floor. We're just going to spread the toes and flex the feet. So we're opening up the toes, making space between them, and then we're pointing the toes away from us, stretching the front of the foot. And then flex, send the heel away and pull the toes towards you, spreading the toes. And exhale, point the toes. Inhale, flex and separate. Exhale, point. Again, flex and point. Then we'll make circles with the ankles, again, putting that synovial fluid all through the joints. So when you're making circles with the ankles, you want to make them as wide of a circle as you can. And then go in the opposite direction. So you have both directions, right? Make sure you're breathing deeply all the while. And then we'll just rock the legs in and out for a moment, releasing any tension in the hips. And then you can remove the bolster out from underneath you. And we're going to bring our soles of our feet together, coming into bound angle. And some of you may feel more comfortable with the addition of a blanket underneath your sit bones. So you can place one underneath, sit back on top, and then again bring the soles of the feet together. We're going to let the legs drop here. So feeling the weight of the thighs dropping down toward the floor, releasing tension in the hips. Breathing deeply. Take a couple more deep breaths. Allowing the legs to drop. And at this point, if you like, you can reach forward with the hands onto the floor or a block in front of you if that works. If belly is so uncomfortable in this position or it's hard to breathe, then walk the hands back and lift the chest, straightening out the back, and at the same time, letting the legs drop. Remember to keep the breaths full into the side and back body. Let's take another deep breath. And then we're going to walk the hands over to the right side, leaning over the right shin, keeping both sit bones grounded. Feeling the stretch on the left side of the low back. Continue to allow the hips to release the legs toward the floor. Let's take another deep breath. And slowly move back to center. Pause for a second. And then walk the hands over to the left side. Now you're leaning over the left shin. If the hands don't reach the floor, use a block or a bolster in front of you to lean onto. Keep both sit bones grounded and continue to breathe deeply, feeling the stretch now in the right side of the low back. Let's take one more breath. And then very slowly walk the hands back to center and ease up into an upright position. And from here, we're going to reach for some blankets to help cushion our heels. If you're on a carpet, this really isn't such an issue. So we place a blanket under the lower leg of each of the legs and open the legs as wide as is comfortable. And we'll just start by allowing the inner legs to release. Sitting up tall, using the hands either on the legs or on the floor in front of you to support you. And then at some point you can place the hands behind you as close to your buttocks as you can and press down into the floor, lifting the chest, which helps to open up the front of the body, making this feel a little bit more open and spacious for breathing. So we'll be here for several breaths, filling up the sides and the back of the lungs and even the upper lungs if possible. So we're going to prepare to come out of the pose. Let's pick up the knee with one hand, bring the foot in, pick up the other knee with the other hand, and come into a cross-legged pose. Let's take one of the blankets and open it up just a little bit, and we're going to place it on the mat. We're going to get up onto our knees and our hands and pull the blanket into the middle of the mat. And then we'll come onto our hands and our knees so that the knees are under the hips and the wrists are under the shoulders, fingers are widespread. Try to keep the low back neutral so that there's a flat line in the back. From here we're going to round the back, tucking the chin toward the chest and the tailbone down toward the floor. And then as we release, we're not arching the low back like you normally would when we're not pregnant. You're just letting the chest drop down between the shoulder blades, keeping the low back flat. Exhale, round the back again. Inhale, flatten the back and let the chest drop down between the shoulder blades. Exhale, round, curling the spine. Inhale, flat back and chest down between the shoulders, looking up. Exhale, round the back. Inhale, chest down between the shoulders, head up. And again, rounding the back, curling the spine. Head down, chin tucked in, and come back to neutral. Let's look over the right shoulder toward the right foot. Try not to swing the hips. So we're making a C shape with the spine. Inhale, and exhale back to center. Inhale, looking over the left shoulder at the left foot. Inhale, and exhale, center. Try to keep the hips in place. Inhale, looking over the right again. And exhale back to center. Inhale, looking over the left shoulder at the left foot. Inhale, center. Try to keep the back flat. One more time. Inhale over the right. Exhale, center. And inhale over the left. And exhale, center. So we're going to transition into a bit more of a strength-based pose. We're going to press the feet down into the floor, grounding ourselves into the hands and feet, and then we're going to reach the right arm forward and the left leg back, pressing down into that left arm, pushing out of the left shoulder, and bring them down. And then inhale, lifting the left arm and the right leg, pressing out of the right shoulder, and bring them down. Again, we'll switch. Inhale, right arm, left leg, and exhale down. And inhale, left arm and right leg, and slowly bring it down. Inhale, switch and lift, and bring it down. One more time. Inhale, switch and lift, and bring it down. Let's turn the toes under, and then just very slowly sit back toward the heels, but leave the hands where they are. Try to have the feet aligned so that the heels are pointing straight up and not swinging out to the sides. And don't push back too hard. We're stretching out the bottoms of the feet, the backs of the toes, and we'll be here for several breaths. Make sure you're breathing deeply. So from here, we're going to press back into downward facing dog, pressing into the hands, pushing the tailbone upward, and letting the heels drop toward the floor. We'll be here just for a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, you're going to bring the knees back down to the blanket. And then you can also do this from the forearms, so give that a try so the hands don't have so much pressure. Blood pressure is changing all the time during pregnancy, so it's a good idea to give yourself some options to work with. And then from here, we'll come into a wide-legged child's pose with the knees wide on the mat and the toes still pointing toward each other. Just sink down as far as it feels comfortable, using the arms for support. You can reach them forward or have them beside you. We'll take a few deep breaths. Coming back up onto all fours. We're going to transition now into a lunge pose, bringing the right foot forward, as far forward as you can, and then we're going to swing the hips forward, bending that front knee and extending through the left hip. Keeping the chest lifted and the head looking forward. Feel free to use blocks under the hands to help bring you up a little bit higher to make it more comfortable. But really try to let go through the hips, letting them sink toward the floor. And breathe. Just a couple more breaths. We're going to transition out of the pose, bringing the right knee back to the mat. And then from here, we'll come into a version of plank pose, bringing the shoulders over the fingers and trying to keep the low back flat so we're not letting it dip down. And it's just, you're making a line from the knees to the top of the head. You're supporting yourself through the shoulders and the arms. And we're only here for a moment, strengthening the arms. And then we'll transition into a downward facing dog, pushing back the hips and lifting up through the pelvis, dropping the heels and pressing into the arms. Remember, you can do this from the forearms if that's what you choose to make yourself more comfortable. Deep breath. And then bring the knees back to the floor. We're going to step the left foot forward, coming into lunge. Make sure the foot is as far forward as you can get it, and then bend the front knee as much as possible, bringing the right hip down toward the mat. Lift the chest, and then breathe. Let's take one more breath. Then we'll transition, remove the blocks, bring your hands to the floor. Slide your left foot back and bring the knee to the blanket and come into a plank pose from the knees, remembering to tuck the pelvis so the back is as flat as you can make it. Shoulders are over hands. We're just here for a breath or two. Let's take another deep breath. And here we're just going to do a small upward dog, not using the low back, just the chest coming between the shoulders, and then back into downward facing dog. We don't want too much low back bending going on. There's enough tension and pressure there already. So the heels are down and the hips are up, and we'll take a deep breath in downward dog. And then bring the knees back to the mat. Part the knees wide, keeping the toes pointing toward each other. You can grab a bolster or several blankets and place them in front of you in such a way that the pressure is not on the belly, so you can move it forward so the belly is in the free open space. And just have your chest and head resting on the bolster or blankets. And we'll be here for a little while, breathing deeply into the back, relaxing through the hips. Inhaling into the sides of the lungs up toward the armpits. And allowing the low back to release into the pose, feeling the elongation and the separation of the vertebra in the low back. Try to relax here for a little bit longer. Take 2 more long, deep breaths, filling the back of the lungs. We're going to slide the hands down beside us and push ourselves up, trying to round the back, pointing the tailbone down. And coming up to sit on our heels, which may be very uncomfortable for some of you, so we're going to explore this with some props. Reach for a block or even a bolster and place it between your feet. And as you sit back, make sure you're able to sit comfortably down onto the prop. And if it's not high enough, if your knees are hurting, place something like another block or another blanket and try to elevate that area. We're just going to have the knees slightly wide open here, and we're doing our best to relax into the pose, pointing the tailbone down, reaching the crown of the head upward, and breathing deeply while we soften through the knees and the hips and the ankles. So in Hero's Pose, we're actually doing a lot more than it looks like we're doing. We're changing the fluid levels in the joints. We're giving time for things to be in a different shape so that we can release these things when we come out. So bring your hands back to the floor, and we're going to push back onto our feet, coming into Malasana or squat pose. And the feet are wide and the toes are pointing out. And if you find it difficult because the heels are not touching down, you can always put a blanket under your heels. And so let your tailbone sink down, releasing through the hips. You can balance with your hands together at your heart. You can also lean forward, placing your hands on the floor for support. But let the knees splay outward and the heels sink toward the mat. And then from here, we'll place our hands on a block and extend the legs, sending the tailbone up toward the ceiling, keeping the feet wide and slightly pointing out or pointing straight forward, but make them a little bit wider away from each other. And the back can stay somewhat flat here, but let the head hang, unless this makes you feel dizzy, and in that case, you'll lift your head and look forward. So we're working on releasing the tension in the back of the legs. We'll be here for a few breaths, allowing things to lengthen and open. Think about the tailbone and the sit bones pointing up, and the heels grounding down into the floor. Just a few more breaths. We're going to bend the knees and come back down into a squat-like position, making our way down onto the floor seated. We're going to transition now, moving your props off to the side, having your bolster nearby. Scoot yourself onto the blanket folded in the middle of your mat. You're going to lie down onto your back very briefly. So start by lying down onto your side and then roll onto your back. Bend your knees, place your feet on the floor, press your feet down into the mat and lift your pelvis up. And as you lift your pelvis up, you're going to slide the bolster across the mat and under the pelvis so your pelvis can rest down on it. Now this might be too high for you, and in that case use a folded blanket or a block. And then you're going to part your feet to the width of the mat and drop the knees in toward each other. Arms can be wherever you like, relaxing through the hips. As long as the knees are dropped inward, you're not needing to hold them there. And you're going to relax through the low back for a few minutes. Bring the breath into the back of the lungs and allow the low back to start to lengthen away from the bolster toward the floor. Make sure the bolster is not under the low back at all, just the pelvis. Relax the jaw. Relax the face. Relax the scalp. Continue breathing deeply into the back. Let's take several more long, deep breaths. Feel the length in the lower back. This is a good way to relieve compression in the lower spine, since at this time in your life you have quite a bit because of the weight of the belly. So you could do this daily. Let's take one more full breath into the back. And then we're going to bring the feet a little bit closer, and then little by little bring one knee up toward the shoulder and then the other knee toward the other shoulder, and keep the knees wide open but bring them toward the upper body. And we're just going to hang out here for a few breaths, allowing the low back to come into a deeper extension, really getting into the spaces between the vertebrae and helping them release the tension that's grown over the period of the pregnancy. There's an element of letting it happen, so just feel the lengthening happening, allow it, relax through it. And then we're going to slowly lower the legs one at a time. We're going to come out of this pose, lift the hips, pull the bolster out. You're going to roll to your side. Pause for a breath. Always transitioning slowly during this time of your life, allowing the blood pressure to do its own regulation. And then push yourself up slowly. We're going to come to set ourselves up for our final posture, which is like a Shavasana, but it's using props and will be in a reclined position. So you'll need your blocks, and we'll set them up at the back of the mat. The one block is at full height, and the other block is at the second height, and it's about 4 inches in front of the top block. And then we'll take the bolster and lay it across the 2 blocks and have it touch the floor as well. And there's still a folded blanket under the pelvis providing support, and we have another bolster under the knees. Now use your hands on either side of the bolster and slowly lower yourself back. Make sure there's no space between your sacrum and the bottom of the bolster. So you can do this without a pillow under the head, or you can also have a folded blanket under the head. And the arms are out to the sides, palms facing up. You can relax the legs straight out over the bolster, or come into bound angle with the soles of the feet touching and the knees bent and pointing out. If the blocks are placed correctly, the chest will feel elevated. If they aren't placed correctly, there will feel like there's a sinking in your body. So you'll want to have something a little bit more underneath you. If you have foam blocks, you may want to do this with additional blocks to make it a bit more stable. And if you don't have a bolster, you can use a couch cushion, but it has to be somewhat firm in order to support you. And then we can relax the shoulders down away from the chest. Soften through the collarbone area and the throat. Relax the jaw. Allow the upper and lower teeth to separate. Relax the tongue and the lips. Soften all the facial muscles. And even the eyes, allow them to soften and sink back into their sockets to rest. Allow the full body weight to relax down onto the props. And come back to breathing fully in a more relaxed way this time, but still concentrating on getting air into the sides and the back of the lungs. Keep melting into the pose, releasing all the tension. Allow the legs to be heavy and grounded. Keep the breath flowing slowly and fully. Now is a good time to make connection with the growing child in your belly. Just have a little inner conversation or some type of connection made. Maybe a wish for the child or a prayer. Let's take another long, deep breath, filling the lungs. And we'll gently rock the head from side to side. And bring the head to center, tuck the chin to the chest, and place the hands on the floor under the shoulders and push yourself up to sit. Take your time. And then you can remove the bolster out from underneath your knees if you had one. And come to a comfortable seated position just to end the practice. Sit up tall, bring the hands together at the heart. Namaste.